Gladstone Company or something. I just stare at that all the time.
Where
Yeah.
was that actually?
Yeah.
He wanted to come today, but he was
Just
just like,
pull out, cut out, just,
Yeah.
it's like a shrine or something.
And then there was always this place in the US, is like they were in all the movies like Gene or audio visual, but they saw us all. Yeah, GMP or something like that, yeah. They're in New York or something, and they have great mail ads. You know, it's cheaper than
Oh, that's quite a name.
Killed my sin chip.
Exercise. Jeez. Get that in my hockey sweater. That's awesome.
had some problems right now. So, like HP, he's very messed up. Same.
Yeah, that's been a while though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He's
He's,
still recovering.
that's like adding
That was
on.
before I left.
I know. It's like all the stereo ads today. Like 750 watt receivers. No, you don't. It's like $100 per channel. Bad fast. Yeah.
Go get people and then we're off to the races.
That should be illegal for people to do
Yeah,
that.
it should have been.
So remember the law.
Sure, it'd be nice, but 128 versus 109.
When was this, like 85, 86?
Yeah.
They were pretty popular too.
No, I'm just,
Say hi to him for me.
Work. Speaks.
no,
Those used to fascinate me.
you just want to let him.
No.
And then, oh, further yet, the second.
That was, that's 64 pages, probably an SFD 1001. Including the IEEE interface too. That's
I made a mistake, and I
Wow.
confused.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I got Swedish already now, fix the rim bar.
Okay.
Use it like for mine. There, you said you didn't sticker?
That's your icons have like version one. I think it was
You like that?
I love it.
Yeah.
At first they said, you know, it was just like a normal understrip and then rim buys tab.
Oh, that just outed whips.
Buys another. So, yeah. And then they said, this is what it would really mean.
Full.
To research emotion.
Dude, you're gonna like burn me.
Yeah, it's insane.
What about the iPad?
I have an idea.
Oh.
I'm a bit of a-
So you're gonna record this? I won't bother him.
Still holding
I
on.
went and bought 6 tapes, but
I'm putting them up actually on the website.
Yeah, you
So
do.
on that, I have an idea.
Oh, for the
The only thing is,
camera?
the only thing is it's only like 7.
You have a case
So
of
where
it?
did you build that at?
Oh,
To plug into
It might be, we'll see.
yes,
We have to
my
wait for it.
charger.
They were saying.
What your idea was?
Faster.
No.
It's legit.
But I have an idea what I'm doing.
Run your flash.
I guess
Personally,
We'll find out in a couple
It's
weeks.
hard
still
for
lost
us.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna make.
Because of that, you kind of go, okay, fine, either way. Bite the bullet, go for an iPad, wait for a
Then
HTML5,
my house is where I have
or
to apply it now.
get something that'll run both.
Oh yeah, I can't believe you used to patch your sound
of TV
engines
now
together and
is
stuff.
even Adobe Flash, right?
So as I thought, I hate it.
If I'm
I
planning on
took
getting rid of
them.
the satellite, you go turn around, get a flash player, a nice little
See
screen.
that little netbook that guy has up there? That's what I like. They're
Just
selling
waiting a
them
couple more minutes for the
$200.
slackers next door to
Not bad.
make their way.
There's a room between us.
That's what my mom
reading
has.
some blogs and
Oh,
stuff.
she's a netbook.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it'd be
her and I were
perfect.
talking about it a couple weeks ago about
Corporate customers get
And, because he doesn't really, he doesn't do anything, but he doesn't do like sounds.
Yeah, but.
about
But it's a big
getting
control
here.
gap.
But she said I'd be better
And
off
it's something
buying
is
a
you
brand
actually
new
each
one by
time
the
you
time
guys
you
love
pay
the
for the shipping
visual
and.
comes up on the screen is pretty
The nice
to show him how
thing.
to set up his gear for the next song. Wow. So it's all like a map of make sure we set up this and that. So pretty sets everything up in front of their next song. Yeah.
Actually, I picked up a Windows 7 phone yesterday.
I was also reading that they don't even
When I go, always step on a house, and stuff, I'll grab my earphone.
Then now they're
So
saying.
the biggest challenge is that they haven't played a song in like 20 years, and they decide to put back on, you know, the tour. And they sit there for like sometimes weeks trying to figure out how they. Listening to the audio track and trying to remember what they did, right? Yeah.
Somebody take Bulmer's head.
I kind of like it.
Forgetting how awesome it would be.
Screwing things up for Microsoft and everybody else is profiting.
Which version is that?
I'll give her.
Which version of the iPad is that?
It's the 3G.
He's for all.
Okay, folks, good afternoon. I'm gonna get started. It's a full room, which doesn't take much, but here we go. The classic arcade guys are gonna be a tough act to follow, but I'll try and do some interesting things for you to stretch your brain a bit. So I'm going to be talking about KipperBASIC and its twin, BASIC on Bales, which is a pun on Ruby on Rails. So just to gauge where people are, who here has heard of KipperBASIC? Who's tried KipperBASIC? Okay, and one keener in the back. So KipperBASIC, which includes BASIC on Bales, is the creation of Jonno Downes down in Australia. And he became the maintainer of IP65, which was created by Per Olofsson, also known as Megavalp in the Commodore scene. So it was a TCP/IP stack for generic 6502 computers. He worked on the 64 for a while, and then Jonno took it on and ported it to the Apple, messed around with it a bit more, and has gone back to the 64, and has done a lot of interesting apps building more and more functionality. But he's now completely outdone himself with his new creation called KipperBASIC. And in a nutshell, KipperBASIC gives you a whole bunch of new basic commands to work with the new networking hardware for the 64, the 64NET, the RNet, the FBNet, and so forth. It works with all of them. As long as it's based on the CS8900 chip, which most of them are, then you're all set. So I'm going to be showing some of the cool things you can do with it. So. Go into BASIC. This is the IDE 64 file manager, which I just love. And he just released version 1.1 in November, so it's still fairly fresh. And right off the bat, you see something that still, even after a couple of years, still hurts my brain on the 64 and all your networking information. So what's happened here is just a little stub program, appropriately called autoexec.bas, that assigns a MAC address, goes and does the DHCP, and displays your configuration. So right away, it just kills me and type DHCP. It says, then IPCFG, and there's your network configuration. So the difference between the two flavors is that KipperBASIC is meant for interactive basic use, or embedding networking into your own programs, whereas BASIC on Bales is more oriented to creating dynamic web pages and interact again, and you're still in the basic environment. So you can do things like ping 192.168.1.1, and the 3 dots say success. But then being basic, you can of course pass arguments, so comma, and then the number of pings you want. So 50. So if you ping something that isn't there, then you get exclamation points. You can also do x equals ping 192.1.1. This won't actually give us anything because I just have a little local network here. But if you were doing that over the internet, I could then say print x, and that, oh, see there too, 2 milliseconds ping time. Neat. So you can do some really crazy things with that. So, new, clear. I didn't think you were going to get your $10 worth unless you saw someone sitting and writing basic code. Someone shout when you realize what I'm doing here. Anyone recognize these addresses?
Setting up sound for something.
That's right. Now this.
Sonic thing.
Yeah, exactly. I probably mispoked something. Also, the sound setup will look bad. So just to add to it, so I can do X. Again, it's basic, so you can do all these crazy things, like I could do X times 10, or X plus, so I'm just going to do 5. Now there isn't any traffic on this network, but you see what would happen. It's pinging, 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 and if your latency goes up, the frequency would go up. Or you could, and the way ping works is it'll return -1 in case there's no response. So you could do a check if x equals -1, then play a buzz. So suddenly, you know, in 4 lines of BASIC, my C64 has become one of my more useful pieces of networking equipment. Because what happens at my apartment is my landlord's kids keep knocking the wireless access point plug out of the wall, and I'm just reaching off his wireless. So what I can do with my 64 is if when that happens, I'm like, oh, I have no network. I can have this ping running in the background, and then I get an audible buzz when the network comes back up. And I'm like, oh, good, I can get back onto my internet fixed. So that's just a flavor of what you could do with ping.
Leif, did you ever think maybe the landlord's deliberately unplugging it and just telling you that it's his kids?
No, it's it's supposed to be included in my rent. And there are, that's just a quick sampling. There's so many commands just in around KipperBASIC that you can do. So there's IPCFG, which I've shown. There's a MAC where you can assign a MAC address. You can assign a hardware address to the Ethernet card on the fly. DHCP, you've seen my IP. You just say my IP and assign a new IP address, and it changes to the IP address of your 64. That's pretty powerful. You can do probably all kinds of crazy spoofing with that. NetMask, change the NetMask gateway. DNS, TFTP, you can do trivial file transfer protocol right from the BASIC prompt if you happen to have a TFTP server around. Ping, you've seen. Netcat is pretty interesting, but there's not much I can do with it without a live network connection. But Netcat just opens a raw socket, so you can just right from BASIC say netcat bbs dot pipesop.ca, which is Ian's BBS. You're logged into the BBS live within BASIC.
Leif, is there an SSL stack? Can you do like SFTP, et cetera, or no?
Nope.
Later.
Yeah, let's see how much memory is left actually. Oops. So it eats up a lot of the BASIC space. Only got 14K left as it is. There's also a TCP connect. So right, live within BASIC, you can do a TCP connect and give it a host name and a port number, and it'll give it a TCP connection. And then there's a way of it returns all the bytes that it receives just in a string. And you can likewise send data over that TCP port right within BASIC.
Yeah, because even Vice has some networking support built into it.
Is that for the multiplayer gaming or for
I don't
RNet?
remember.
Yeah, Vice has 2 styles of networking. It has RNet emulation, so you can play with KipperBASIC right within Vice, just enable the RNet
Okay.
emulation. Vice also has multiplayer, which is sort of a meta networking, which hooks up to, gives you one virtual 64 spread across the network. TCP send, for sending data. TCP blat is for transmitting data. So you could run a TFTP server on your 64 and serve up files. So any questions before I move to BASIC on Bales?
Is this
What TCP/IP stack is this? Use like from Contiki or?
It's based on the IP65 stack. Again, originally developed by Megavalp and picked up by Jonno Downes.
Good question for you. What kind of hardware is that?
This here is an IDE 64, which gives you the IDE and USB and compact flash card and everything. Also gives you an Amiga clock port for running an RNet off of. But the best option for networking today is the 64 NIC Plus from Jim Brain. So you just go to www.jbrain.net.
This is a promotion, he actually has them on discount right now in his online store for $10 off,
Yep, so for 40 bucks
for 40 bucks.
US.
Yeah.
I could go on about, speaking of the ID64, I could go on about it for, I have done demos on it too, to get your BIOS. Okay, now I'm going to move to BASIC on Bales. So, net. Bales 2. BASIC on Bales. Now this was a little wonky for me before, so I apologize. I thought of the commands are the same. Okay. DHCP. Yep. DHCP. See, now it's because the default MAC address is different in BASIC on Bales. My little DNS server in my router has assigned me yet another IP. So 1.105. Rely on the group to help me remember that. So this lets you do very simply 10. Again, more basic for your $10. Hook. In fact, I won't even do a hook. I'll just go straight to 10 HTTPD. Listen on port 80. When you get a connection, you go to line 100. 100 then. Okay, a little wonky. That's better. So line 100. So you're used to in BASIC doing print. So let's do exclamation point. And let's do H2. We'll see if Firefox likes that. And there's another new keyword instead of return, it's yield.
But no flash tag?
So listening, and if I have a volunteer from the audience.
Volunteer?
Oh, well.
Oh, is that the port we need to go to?
Oh, now you're gonna crash my 64 with 18 connections going into it.
Service attacks.
Well, it came up here. So. Well, you can see a bunch of stuff. And of course, Firefox is trying to request the fave icon, which Jonno has thoughtfully included on the KipperBASIC disk. So there's a little Commodore logo called faveicon.ico in PNG format, stored on the Commodore disk.
Nice.
And Jim, how are you doing over there? Okay, well, I've got mine, so I apologize for the lo-fi. There it is in Firefox.
Excellent.
No web server in 3 lines of code.
Wow.
Basic code.
Basic code, no less. But remember, you're still in the BASIC environment. You have all the power of BASIC. Oh, so show the credit.
Anyone who cares to see?
Nice.
But remember, it's interactive. It's still BASIC. So I could do 100, 105, 4t equals 1 to 100. 106, exclamation mark.
Syntax error in 106 before that.
System error line number 1.
Yeah, I got system error on my iPod.
Yeah, Yeah, BASIC on Bales, when you have basic errors, it transmits them over the web too, so you can have undefined statements in 100 appear in your browser.
Syntax error in mind.
Maybe let's not do 100, maybe that's probably for that.
I got straight out of the syntax here.
Number 106, my number 106.
Yep, syntax error.
Now I know how to hack his web server.
Okay, now I'm back on actually. It's probably gonna go to 106. No, back to 105. Do you want me to type that in again, or you get the basic gist? All right. This will be the quick and dirty version. Goodness.
Line 106 again.
System error line.
That's sweet.
We may need to use a different variable.
No, I think you use like the val or T or something like that, or ASC.
Right, you probably need to turn it into a string rather than.
Well, I've definitely done this in test. Well, oh, I see. STR string, is that it? I can't even remember.
You would probably want. Forget.
This is great, this extreme programming times. Let's do a print first. Okay, there's a bunch of cached requests sitting out there.
Yeah.
Okay, that worked.
Okay.
This is everybody connecting with their.
Safari cannot open the page because the server stopped responding.
The distributed denial of service attack.
Yeah.
Got it.
There you go.
Success.
Let's see.
Okay, well, if someone got it working, can you? Oh, yeah. And of course, because it's actually generating HTML, there's no line feeds. Trying to zoom in here. Yeah, and for people over there, so there it's using Firefox on my laptop.
Still waiting.
Why is it going?
And can write a web server or a browser.
Yep. Well, and one other feature that I want to show again, I'll explain it as I go.
Just shut it off.
Okay, console part 10. Hook. /hook. Comment 1000. What the hook command does is if you're going to something other than the root path, you can watch for certain paths and it will, and Kipper and BASIC on Bales will move the basic interpreter to that line. So it's like a on blah 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 go sub. So then I do 30. And then for all the defaults, it'll go to line 100. Actually, in 100 we don't want to use it all, so 100. Yeah. 1000. Run hook. 10. Yes, I'm going off a cheat sheet here. Now, the really cool if there hasn't been enough cool stuff already. When you pass arguments, yeah, you know how you can do ampersand blah equals blah in like a search query, that gets passed into BASIC as variables. So if I'm going to do here, quote, string, val, v string. R string equals thank you for voting. Yeah. With. Let's print a string just so we can see it up on the projector.
You got a trailing bracket there at the end of 1020.
Oh, which one?
Yeah.
Right there. To the left of that, what's this?
Oh, thank you. And then I want to actually send it over the web. 1050 yield. Someone already. Hold on, there's a special syntax. Slash.
Did you mean to print $art instead of $8?
Yes, you're right.
And cent as well?
Yep. See, extreme programming, I love it.
Syntax 09, 1020.
See, of course, now all of you can. This is like. Oh. Yeah, but all you're getting is the fav icon. If you send a specially constructed URL, it passes it into those variables. Plonk. Oh, that's not formed. Oh. Something not quite right. Nope, unable to connect. Speak amongst yourselves. Why is it? Oh, now it says unable to connect. It's entirely possible we crashed. Oh, there it goes. Oh, ran out of hooked properly. Oh, come on, 1000. Something not right here. There we go. So what I've done is I've said, oh, of course I've got great big system error. Those of you who follow me on Facebook know I put that on my Facebook profile yesterday when I was trying to get this ready. So what I've done, so and b equals 2. Of course, everybody's now connecting to see if they can. It really only handles one connection at a time. But it's kind of interesting, you can see the general port that the connections are coming from. Two, okay, that's working. I'm just gonna save. One thing is that it interferes with the ID64 BASIC, so I have to do everything slow. There we go. One doubt, reset. I love the demo effect. 105, what are you doing? Yep. Oh, it's misbehaving a bit, but well, V is working, but A didn't. Well, what is supposed to be happening, but so if you're not watching me debug for ages, if you set it to .105, book, 5.3, and equals 2. That's the syntax I'm trying to send from Firefox. You see how when you put A equals, that goes into A string, V equals goes into V string, so you can parse it within BASIC. So it's trying to implement a general purpose. Sorry?
When you were running the program, you kept getting an error at some point.
1020? Yeah.
Do you have to put like pluses in there?
In BASIC, I didn't think so. Got one in doubt. Ram.
Because it actually never wrote out that string. Anytime somebody would.
Right. Well, let's try that. Whoa. Wait. Again, extreme programming. I love it. All the room full of debuggers. Of course, you know, you see all the security holes. You could do poke 788, and send the BASIC vector off into outer space. But that's a base string. Yeah, guilty using the PC keyboard. Sweet string probably needs some spaces in there too. Okay, there we go.
What's it say?
It says, thank you for poking 53281 with 2. Because I can now go into Firefox and say V equals, oh, and someone's already sent it to 0. It set it to 4 for a nice pink, my favorite. So this now gives you full control of this whole 64's memory space, except as long as you're not writing over KipperBASIC over the web. So you can poke, and people are doing 53280. Okay, let's just let the crowd try and lock up the machine.
So Leif, you've got, so you have put get, if I recall. So this is kind of a put get mechanism. You can send data over via put and get it via just.
Yeah, that's essentially all it is.
And that's
HTTP.
Which is enough, which is very cool. But that's sort of the extent of the daemon, the HTTP.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So everybody's playing the screen color. I want to see something really. I want to see a really dramatic crash.
Well, that's easy enough.
I forgot what the poke command to reboot is. Reset.
How much memory you have left to work on?
About 14K.
Yeah.
That's all the HTTP protocol.
Yeah, it's the IP stack.
I don't remember that. He's walking all the stories.
Oh, everyone's still just going. So do you know what the syntax is? It's slash poke question A equals, and then the address, and then ampersand V equals.
Yeah, can you manage the content?
Hmm.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Oh, 542. Command 6. Someone's setting the volume.
It's only setting it, I'm setting it to 15, but it says 1.
No, it might have lost the character. Oh, 1524. People are poking to the middle of the screen. Very good.
That's funny.
646. Yeah, very good. Oh, there. Yeah, there's the lost B. While people are trying to destroy that, I will go on to the last part. Where did my cheat sheet go?
What are you trying to
Can you
do?
poke to any address?
You can put, yeah, it's basic, so I'm not doing any checking at all.
Right.
For the last one, oh wow, you guys are, you're not going to, I'm not going to invite you over to paint my house. Who was at ECC, or sorry, the C4 2005, when I showed this? This was my Commodore 64 controlled remote control truck. That was controlled from, wait for it, a BASIC program. Now you see where I'm going with this? This is how my little mind works. We now have, I have a BASIC program for controlling this. I have a BASIC program that I can talk to over the web. So I can now web enable my remote control truck toy.
So you can scare the cat back at
That's right.
Exactly.
Let's go here. So this is the VicRel cartridge. It gives you, with a couple of poke commands, as I've just shown, you can control relay I/O over the web.
Yeah. I won't force you to watch me make another basic program. This one I've got ready. Why is it on? Oh, I see what I had. I was doing tests at home. I had it hard coded. Okay, notice I have the transmitter off before anybody can my face. Oh, it's on connection. So here we have a remote controlled truck demo. And just to show you the basic a little bit. So this is a little more involved. I've hooked the pokes there for controlling the user port. I've hooked go and stop to various lines. And there I'm creating an HTML form in BASIC. So my default is to set up the form, and then I've linked the action from the two buttons go and stop using the hook command to the different line numbers. That's it. Okay. Not part of the demo. It says backwards. Oh, can't connect. Ah, there we go. So let's put this here.
Or if you want to volunteer from the audience to try sending, go and then pit stop.
That is.
That's awesome.
Try left or right. Yeah, you can see the tires are shifted off to the side. And if it stop, it'll recenter it. Oh, but there's no attempt at proper serialization. But what I want to do is eventually extend this so that you can write a little program with a path for the truck, all in an HTML form, hit submit, and have the truck execute it. Or, you know, being the festive season, you could wire this up through the VIC-REL to control your Christmas lights.
There you
So you can
go.
have a little form that people say turn on the red ones, the green ones, the blue ones, and have other people entertain you at Christmas.
Build a logo interpreter. So you can do
Keep calm.
And the last one, I'm not going to get into it in much detail now, but I've added a secondary input form so you can say how long you want it to go in that direction. Just working towards. And it probably won't go.
IP address.
Yep, thank you. Oh, of course, it's all queued up. So just that line, the single line of basic code added this extra. Oh, see, Jim is having fun driving it. I've added an input field to say how many seconds you want it to go for in that direction.
Cool.
Left and right. Well, while people are playing with that, that's all I have for stuff to show. Any questions?
What's next after the truck?
Christmas lights, probably. But remember, it's basic, so it's interactive, so I could say, enter a message for Leif at Christmas time and have it pop up in my 64 screen.
You'd also have to have a webcam set up to give the user feedback so they can watch the.
Yep, definitely.
Very cool.
Basic, the new WebOS.
Yeah. If you want on your resume to claim I have 30 years experience with the web programming language,
Yeah.
you can